Hi everyone, my name is Mustafa, Professor Mustafa El Meludi. You can call me Prof E, Professor E. Um, since today is basically a holiday, I couldn't make it mandatory, so I'm just gonna record this meeting and then post it in Blackboard. It just basically is gonna be like a little introduction. I'm gonna go over the syllabus, and there's just a little brief introduction of the course, microcomputers. So as I mentioned, my name is Professor Mustafa El Melodi. I'm originally from Casablanca, Morocco. I hold a master's degree in computer science from Texas A&M and a second master's degree in international business and even one more in marketing from Edinburgh Business School, which is in Heriot-Watt University in UK. I'm currently pursuing a doctoral program in instructional systems design and technology with Sam Houston. I'm at the final stage, the dissertation stage, so I'm almost there. So I've been teaching for so long, for 22 years, both at the high school and college level. I taught a variety of courses, computer science mainly, but international business, introduction to business, marketing and finance, business computer information systems, math courses, and other business courses. Also, programming fundamentals 1, 2, and 3. Of course, microcomputers, discrete structures or discrete math, among other courses, even like some foreign languages. So the course will going to be the first. I'm very excited to be your instructor for this class, microcomputers. It is a half semester, so it's only 8 weeks. So basically, it's about the foundation, about the basics of microcomputers, and also the main Microsoft applications, the four main Microsoft applications: Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. Um, and by the way, when I was teaching at the high school, I helped many students, hundred of students, getting certified in these four applications, like Microsoft Office Specialist. They got that certification, Microsoft Office Specialist and Master certification. Many of them got certified. I know it's not required here, but that's an option. So let's go over the syllabus first and see like what the expectations are, and then the most important thing. So let's see here. This is the syllabus. So of course, this is an online course. The office hours every Monday from 5 to 6. Okay. So I will go over the most important thing. If you have questions, if you have concern, or you need clarification or assistance about anything, I'll be more than happy to help. So this is the learning outcomes, as I mentioned. So basically, the course is about the basics of microcomputer, about the hardware and software. It's about creating basic documents, business documents in Microsoft Word with professional formatting. As far as Microsoft Excel is concerned, we're going to be talking about what we're going to cover the functions, and then basically how to perform basic operations using Excel and basic formatting and a few other things. And finally, this how to design database in Microsoft Access. And finally, how to create a presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint. So these are the main aspects or the main components of this course. Okay, so this is basically the schedule. So we're going to be starting with computer concepts. It's just basic. I would say probably 90% of the information should be familiar with, because it's like you are familiar with it. You hear it almost on a regular basis. But there are a few things that probably that you need to kind of review. But mainly it is just basic hardware, software, um, like the different applications, um, input devices, output devices, basics of networking and internet and stuff like that. So just like the basic things. And then, of course, the other 4 applications. So we're going to spend almost either 1 or 2 weeks, depending. Now, for Microsoft Word, we're going to cover only Chapter 5, which is just basically how to create um, a research-based documents, like how to take care of the citation, how to search, how to perform some basic searching, how to manage the sources, how to use thesaurus, and other things. So only Chapter 5, okay? And then, of course, Excel, Access, and PowerPoint. All right, so that should be it in as far as the syllabus is concerned. All right. So basically, we let's get started about the basic things. As I mentioned, it's let me see here. Yes. So I'm gonna go over this, as I said, the most important things. Okay, that probably need a little clarification, but most of them are just I would say common sense, or something that you should be familiar with. So first it talks about the book, the lesson talks about how to acquire and install software. So as I mentioned here, the software license, you have to make sure if the software has a license or copyright law or not. So there are some softwares that are free to be used. Some of them, they have free trial. So you can use them for a certain period of time, maybe 30 days, and then you have to, upgrade, or you have to purchase the license. Okay. So as I mentioned, the freeware is the software that is free to use without any specified time restrictions. Okay. Open source, again, is the one that we use. Basically, everybody can contribute to that software or program. So that's what it's called, open source. All right, applications. So applications are programs that are made for specific reasons. For example, when you say Microsoft Word, it's a program that we use only for word processing, okay? Microsoft Excel is an application because it is used only for spreadsheet purposes. Microsoft PowerPoint is an application because it is used for presentation purposes, and so on. Same thing for Microsoft Access. So we have others maybe for QuickBooks, for accounting, and so on. So this is the applications, okay? And this is, of course, there are a lot of aspects. So the drawing has certain applications like the bitmap, graphics, or paint. So there are many applications that we use depending on what the purpose is. So here it talks about the basic security concepts, okay? So when you are using a computer, of course, there are a lot of threats and vulnerabilities. So threat is something that can cause harm if you don't pay attention. It may cause harm to the computer, or it will be like privacy issues or something. So you have to be careful that your computer is well protected. The vulnerability, that means there is a weakness that has not been protected against threats, thereby making it open to harm. So it's kind of risky. So here we're talking about the risk assessment. So we need to make sure that all these vulnerabilities are dealt with. So here it's mentioned how can we assess, or how can we understand the threats? So you need to assess the probability of the threats, basically the likelihood that threat will be materialized, the degree of vulnerability, the penalty or injury that may occur if the threat succeeds in causing harm. So all of this will take you to the risk assessment. And then the countermeasures is what you can do to protect yourself. Okay. So any measure, any action, like for example, when you update your security, when you have a security update on a regular basis, then you are taking countermeasure to make sure that your computer is always protected against the most recent threats. Blog, I'm sure you heard about these terms. A blog is a web page or small website that contains series of chronological posts and comments. So this is where people can interact with others. And the micro blogging is specific. It's essentially a short form blog, like Twitter, for example, Tumblr. These are called micro blog, or they're used for micro blogging. Computer ethics. Ethics basically is following values or principles to make sure that you are doing what is right. Okay, so you need to make sure that anything that you do using the computer is ethical. So when you try to use something illegally, that would be probably unethical. Or when you violate somebody else's privacy, just because you can, it doesn't mean that you should access certain websites or folders that are not supposed to be accessed. Okay, empathy, that's the term. Empathy basically is to put yourself in the shoes of others. So you want to be treated the same way, or you need to treat people the same way you want to be treated. So here we're going to talk about, as I said, this is the most major topic. So computer networks. So what is a network? Network is a bunch of computers connected, because even if you have the most sophisticated computer, if it's not connected with other computers, with servers, with the knowledge base, then it's not useful. So that's why the network allows you to share files, to share resources, to share data, and other things. Okay. So there are many benefits of using networks, as we mentioned: sharing resources, sharing files. As you can see, all these computers, for example, they can share only one printer, so you can save a lot of money. So you don't have to have one printer for each computer. The same thing for files and other things. So these are the different way or different types of networks. So if here we're talking about the local area network or LAN, that's when you have like a small area. So they're physically, the computers are physically close to each other, and they're connected either by cables or by some type of wireless media. Okay. So it could be like a room, maybe, or probably building, no more than that. Now for the wide area, maybe you have a company, and then you have the headquarters, and then you have another building, So you need to have access to information from the headquarters. So you need the one, not local area network. And of course, this is the biggest network, is the intranet and the extranet, and then the internet is basically the network of the networks. Okay. And then here, these terms are very important. The speed and the reliability are very important. So we talked about the computers and copyright law. So there are certain, like for especially the piracy, okay, you have to make sure that these copyright law are protected, intellectual property. So you cannot use something unless you have the right to use it. If it's free, for a certain period of time, then you need to use it only within that period of time, okay? Because people spend a lot of money to get that program, to get the software, so they need to have a return. Okay, copyright are fair. So this is a very important term, fair use. So sometimes, even though it is protected by the copyright, so the law allows you to use or to access certain information or data if it is only for educational, for example, purposes, but only uh, for a certain period of time or certain, there's some requirements here. So that's why they put here the conditions here. How do we know it is fair use or not? Copyright law contains an exception known as the fair use, which provides for a limited set of circumstances. So there are certain situations where you can access somebody else's information, but here this is the question that will help you decide whether it is fair use or not. What is the nature of the use? If it is educational, so it's not for commercial, it's not to make money out of it. What is the nature of the work? How much of the work is being copied? Is it only 3 pages or 5, 6 chapters? Okay, so this question may help, even though sometimes it's not easy to tell, but this question will help. How much of the work is being copied and how will the copy affect the market? Okay, so this question will help. So basically, fair use is using only for a certain for certain under only certain circumstances. So this is the internet, or information about how to connect to the internet. So a long time ago, we used to have dial-up, which is basically using the phone lines for internet, for connection. And then we started having, or we moved to DSL, which is digital subscriber line, and then cable, and then satellite, then fiber optic. So it gets more sophisticated faster and faster. And then now we have mobile hotspot, so you can get access to the internet wherever you are. CPU and memory. So now we're moving to the basically the hardware aspect of the computer. So these are the most important components. CPU basically is, it's an acronym for central processing unit. So you can call it the brain of the computer. This is where the processing takes place, okay? And memory is where the data is stored. And you need both of them. Because if you have a CPU, very, very sophisticated CPU, but you don't have enough space in the memory, it's not going to help. And the same thing, if you have a lot of memory space, but the CPU is not sophisticated, then it's not going to be good. So you need both of them. Okay? So here, this is the different types of memory. The RAM, random access memory. So whenever you save something, that's basically where the information are saved on the computer. So when you are working on any document or any work, that's where automatically the information or data go to RAM. Okay, RAM is the main, basically, or you can call it the primary memory storage. Now, ROM is some information that is stored by the manufacturer of the computer, and it stays there and it never changes. You cannot change it, and it's just there since the first time the computer was created. So just like the human being, there are certain things that you save and then you forget. For example, if I ask you, what did you eat for lunch, let's say 2 weeks back, you may not remember. But you're not going to forget how to eat. Why? Because this is something that was inculcated a long time ago, and it will be there forever. Okay, it will not change. So it's basically like analogy between the RAM and the ROM. Now, all of these are memory. It's just for different purposes. Like cache is a high-speed memory within the CPU. So when the program process, especially the CPU process information, the CPU needs a space that has access, not the RAMs, like something like a space that is high speed and it is easily accessible. So that's cache. So it's like high speed memory. It doesn't have a lot of space, but it is so fast. Okay. So that's what so all of these are types of memory for different purposes. Database. So database is basically where you store the information and data. So we use different terms like data warehouse. That's why we talk also about big data. When you have a large volume of data, you need specific places or storage where you can save them. Okay. And then once we have this large data, we need data. That's the difference between data and information. So data are just basically information that has no purpose or has no meaning, okay, by itself. And then once you put them together, then it becomes information, okay? So once you get all this data in a place, then you can use them for business intelligence purposes. So businesses can access all this data. When you put them together, when you process them, when you analyze them, then they become data that corporation or businesses can use to make important decisions. Okay? So that's also another term, data mining, which is the discovery of new pattern or relationship. So for example, let's say the big corporations like Walmart or something, so or others. So they use this data, okay, to make decision how much to stock, how much to order, the business, so different, how much, yeah, and then inventory decisions. So you need this information, but they need to see the pattern and maybe they can see that there is a certain product that is high in demand, so they're going to order more. Or maybe they're going to slow down because there are certain, they notice that there is like a decrease in demand. So all of this information is from data mining. Data organization. So here there is a difference between batch versus real-time processing. Real-time, that means on the spot. Okay, so batch is basically the old-fashioned way, where you save the information and then later you can process and analyze them. Real-time is on the spot. That means while the information are coming in, you are making decisions. So you are using them as they are being received. Okay, so now most of the companies, they are using real time because the time is important. If they can't wait, so they have to make a decision as they are being received. Okay, so this about expert systems are another widely used knowledge work system. People who are experts in a particular area are generally well paid for their specialized knowledge. So this is expert systems. All right, now we're going to be talking about the different computer-based information systems. As you can see, there are different levels. The lowest level, transaction processing. This is the lowest level, okay, based on the transactions, basically the day-to-day transactions. Okay, there's a little bit higher level, which is management information system. When you are using data based on the transaction processing system for middle-level managers to make decisions at that level. And then another level, which is a little bit higher, is decision support system to make important decisions here. And then on top of that, there is executive, basically to make strategic decisions. So this is the highest level. Okay, now going back to the database. So why do we use the database? As you can see right here, this is for sharing information. We use tables, we use queries, we use forms, we use reports to share important information, and also for security, so we can save them in a secure location, and to avoid redundancy, which is basically repeating data, which which makes your work kind of inefficient. So here this is the different type of system. So database management is different types. So the one that we're going to be talking about most often is DBMS, which is database management system. Like, for example, Microsoft Access, we're going to be learning about, follows this type of database management system. And out of this one, there are also different types. So the one we're going to be focusing on is a relational database management system. So as you can see right here, there are different types as structured query language, SQL. So here, all of these are different types. We're going to be talking about them in detail. So these are the most important terms you're going to be using. So we're going to be talking about this when we cover Microsoft Access. So we're talking about the field or columns, and then we have tables, and then we have a record, which is a collection of related field. So for example, when you get the name of the customer, then the address, and then the city where they live, and then all this, it becomes a record because they are connected. Okay, so and then the set of tables or collection of tables. So basically, the collection of records make a table, and the collection of tables make a database, as you can see. So I'll talk about this in detail when we cover Microsoft Access. Okay, so this is basically the information flow, how the information goes from one stage to another. So this is the structure I was talking about. So there is the hierarchical database. So there's a hierarchy here. And there is a network database. Of course, each one of them is for a specific purpose. Network database. And this is the one we're going to be focusing on, relational database. And then there is more advanced multidimensional database. There's also object-oriented database. So if you took a programming classes, then you should be familiar with this one. So it is based on classes, objects, attributes, and functions or methods. Okay, so each type is for a different purpose. Which one depends on the situation you are in. So this is the management levels, of course, the supervisor, middle management, and top management. So desktop operating system. So this is like the main operating system. Here we have Microsoft Windows, we have Mac operating system, we have Linux, we have the Chrome OS. So all of these are different operating systems. So we use this software systems basically to communicate with the computer. You need a program that basically work as to translate. It's like two people speaking two different languages. So you need someone who can connect the two. He can get the information from one person and then translate it to other. That's what the operating system does. Okay. So this is executive support. So as I said, I'm just going to mention the most important things. So types of database. So is it an individual database or personal? So this database used by companies, and there is a distributed. Basically, it's made public. Okay, it's open to the public. And there is a commercial one. So all of these are different types of database. Okay, so this is talk about the different types of data. So this is the email services. Of course, that's self-explanatory. You should be familiar with all these terms. Okay. Online research. So when you perform, everybody at certain point make online research for different reasons. So here we talk about searching techniques. Of course, the more accurate, the more precise the keyword is, the more accurate your search will be. Okay. And then when you are searching, it's very important to know which ones are reliable sites. So depending on what we're searching for. So there are some news organizations to search for information for news. There's academic journals if you are doing search, oh, I'm sorry, research. So you go to academic journals that are reliable for information. Okay. Government sites. So as you can see, these are more reliable, more kind of secure reference sites. And here it talks about the citation and plagiarism. Electronic commerce. So there are different types. Is it business to consumer, B2C, okay? And there is from consumer to consumer. So here we're going from business to consumer. So that could be eBay, for example, or Amazon also, even though it has like more than one. So it has business to consumer, sometimes business to business. So business to consumer usually for shopping, okay? So it's like you have access to the consumer directly. And then there is consumer to consumer. They sell to each other, okay? So there are certain, like Craigslist, for example, is an example, where the consumer sell, merchandise or things to other consumers. And there is a business to business, okay? Business to business also. Okay, here it talks about online banking. So support system basically is the systems that we use to help us to support information workers. So for example, office automation system, video conferencing system, what do we use it to help us achieve our objective? Project managers, knowledge work system. So this is just for supporting purposes to make that interaction more effective. So this is the different functions of an organization: accounting, marketing, human resources. All right, so I'm going to stop here. So next time we'll talk about the file management. So as you can see, most of them are just basic information. So please take time to go over this. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to post this video in Blackboard so you get the chance to go over it. So as I mentioned, since it was a holiday, I couldn't make it mandatory for everybody. But maybe next Monday, yeah, we'll get the chance to meet again. All right.